Good morning, all of you. Good evening, Ruturaj sir. I would like to extend a warm welcome to today's resource person, Mr. Ruturaj Zadbuke. I also welcome all the participants in today's session. Those are participated in Google Meet and those are on YouTube Live. This is the fifth day of our Industry Academia Seminar Week 2021. And today's guest is very dynamic, talented, and young personality. That is Mr. Ruturaj Zadbuke. Once again, I welcome you, sir. Now, I want to give a brief introduction of Ruturaj Zadbuke, sir. So, Ruturaj Zadbuke, very talented guy. His native place is Mumbai. He is working as software engineer at Facebook in San Francisco, US. He has been completed BE in Electrical and Electronic Engineering in 2016 at Birla Institute of Technology and Science, that is the BITS Pilani. Then he completed his Master of Science CS in 2018 at University of Florida. During his engineering, he implemented the control system for lubrication system of the steel mill using programmable logic array. As a part of a four-member agile team in Carvale, India, he revamped an application that provided end-to-end solution for automobile dealership in India, and now he is working at Facebook. So I know you are excited to listen him. So without wasting time, I requested Ruturaj sir to deliver a seminar. So thank you once again.
Thank you for that kind introduction. So, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir.
सर व्हिडिओ दिसत नाहीये, प्लीज मेक इट ऑन.
हो मी ऍक्च्युली मी प्रेझेंट करतोय तर ते सुरू करेन आता.
ओके ओके
ओके. ऑलराईट, सगळ्यांना माझा स्क्रीन दिसतोय का?
येस सर. येस सर.
ठीक आहे. तर सो बिफोर आय स्टार्ट एक छोटासा डिस्क्लेमर की मी जे काही आता बोलतोय ते माझ्या पर्सनल कपॅसिटी मध्ये बोलतोय आणि नॉट फॉर द कंपनी ऑर एनिथिंग लाईक दॅट. तर मी आता जो टॉक देतोय त्याचं नाव ठेवताना मी विचार करत होतो की काय नाव द्यावं. तर मी अगोदर 5 लेसन्स असं नाव देणार होतो, पण जेव्हा लेसन्स म्हणतो तेव्हा लेसन्स इम्प्लाइज टीचिंग आणि मला तुम्हाला काही शिकवायचं नाहीये. तर जे मी शिकलोय आतापर्यंत ते फक्त तुमच्याबरोबर शेअर करायचंय. आणि शिकवण्यासाठी मी आता खूप छोटा आहे, मी 25 वर्षाचा आहे फक्त. त्यामुळे आय डोंट थिंक आय कॅन टीच यू एनिथिंग, बट आय कॅन शेअर व्हॉट आय हॅव लर्न्ड. So I'm going to divide this talk in different sections, and I would have probably like one huge lesson that I learned in that section of my life. So I would have like 5 sections like that. तर पहिल्यांदा मी माझ्या लहान बालपणापासून सुरू करतोय. सो when I was a child, बेसिकली मी तेव्हा लहान होतो तेव्हा जसं मॅडम म्हटल्या मी बॉम्बेमध्ये राहायचो. अँड वी यूज टू लिव्ह इन अ स्मॉल टाउन विच इज ऑन द आउटस्कर्ट्स ऑफ बॉम्बे. सो आम्ही ऍक्च्युअल मुंबई किंवा नवी मुंबई तसं राहायचो नाही. आणि माझे पॅरेंट्स दोघेही इंजिनियर होते आणि त्यामुळे लहानपणीपासूनच आमच्या घरामध्ये आणि सराउंडिंग्समध्ये एज्युकेशनचं खूप इम्पॉर्टन्स होतं. माझे पॅरेंट्स आउटसाइड ऑफ इंजिनिअरिंग म्हणजे त्यांचे जॉब सोडून ते शिकवण्या घ्यायचे आणि माझी आई कॉलेज चालवायची. तर त्यामुळे मला लहानपणापासून मी एक खूप चांगली गोष्ट जी आपल्या इंडियन सोसायटीमध्ये आहे ती बघितली होती की आपल्या इथे टीचर्सना खूप महत्व दिलं जातं. आणि दॅट इज वन थिंग दॅट आय हॅवंट सीन एनिवेअर एल्स. टीचर्सना एवढं इम्पॉर्टन्स आणि एवढा रिस्पेक्ट फक्त इंडियन सोसायटीमध्ये मिळतो. आणि आय थिंक दॅट इज लाईक वन थिंग दॅट वी शुड चेरिश अबाउट आवर सोसायटी अँड वी शुड कीप दॅट अप. तर लहानपणापासून मला एक मेन गोष्ट जी माझ्या आई वडिलांनी शिकवली ती म्हणजे एज्युकेशनला कधीही कुठल्या पर्पजसाठी एज्युकेशन पाहिजे किंवा जॉब मिळणार आहे म्हणून एज्युकेशन घेतलं पाहिजे किंवा पैसे पाहिजेत म्हणून एज्युकेशन घेतलं पाहिजे असं लहानपणीपासूनच आमच्याकडे वातावरण नव्हतं. तर एज्युकेशनला नेहमी फॉर द सेक ऑफ एज्युकेशन, लाईक एज्युकेशन वॉज ऑलवेज फॉर द सेक ऑफ एज्युकेशन. आणि नॉलेज जे मिळतं, जे काही शिकतो आपण ते फक्त शिकण्यासाठी शिकतोय एवढं. ते जे शिकवलं माझ्या आई वडिलांनी, दॅट इज आय थिंक द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टंट, वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टंट थिंग्स दॅट आय हॅव लर्न इन लाईफ. आणि जेव्हा तुम्ही नॉलेज फक्त नॉलेजसाठी घेता तेव्हा एक गोष्ट होते की तुम्हाला नॉलेज घेण्यापासून आनंद व्हायला लागतो. आणि त्यामुळे तुम्ही वेगवेगळ्या गोष्टी जेव्हा तुमच्या आयुष्यात येतात तेव्हा तुम्ही त्या कशा शिकायच्या, नवीन गोष्टी जेव्हा शाळेत येतात किंवा दुसरीकडे तुम्हाला नवीन गोष्टी शिकायला लागतात तेव्हा कशा शिकायच्या हा प्रश्न नाही पडत तुम्हाला, कारण की तुम्हाला फक्त त्याची क्युरिओसिटी असते आणि तुम्ही फक्त बरोबर प्रश्न विचारता आणि शिकत जाता त्या गोष्टी, कारण की तुम्हाला शिकण्यात आनंद असतो, तुम्हाला त्याच्यापासून काही मिळवायचं नसतं. आणि आय थिंक दॅट इज अ व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट थिंग दॅट वी शुड इनकल्केट इन आवरसेल्फ, की नेहमी एज्युकेशन जेव्हा आपण घेतोय तेव्हा एज्युकेशनला स्वतःचा रिस्पेक्ट दिला पाहिजे आणि काहीतरी जॉब मिळणार आहे किंवा परीक्षा आहे म्हणून तेवढ्या पुरता अभ्यास नाही केला पाहिजे. सो वेन यू डू दॅट दोन गोष्टी होतात. एक तर तुम्ही शाळेत म्हणजे चांगलं एज्युकेशन घेता, कॉलेजमध्ये चांगलं एज्युकेशन घेता, आणि दुसरं म्हणजे तुम्हाला आउटसाइड ऑफ युअर म्हणजे जे शाळा आहे किंवा कॉलेज आहे त्याच्या आउटसाइड तुम्हाला एक्स्ट्रा करिक्युलर माहिती मिळवायची सवय लागते. तुम्हाला पेपर वाचायचा किंवा पुस्तकं वाचायची आणि त्यातनं नवीन माहिती मिळवायची अशी सवय लागते. तर माझ्या आईवडिलांनी मला ते पण शिकवायचा प्रयत्न केला की खूप पुस्तकं वाचावीत बाबा म्हणून वगैरे असं शिकवायचा प्रयत्न केला. पण मी एवढा कधी पुस्तकं वाचायला शिकलो नाही. मी टीव्ही आणि इंटरनेट खूप वापरायचो लहानपणीपासून. आणि आय थिंक वी आर ॲट अ स्टेज की आपल्याकडे इंटरनेट हे खूप लाईक इट्स अ व्हेरी पॉवरफुल टूल आणि त्याच्यातनं आपल्याला एवढी माहिती मिळू शकते आणि आपण त्याचा इन अ वे दुरुपयोग करतो. म्हणजे इंटरनेट कॅन बी यूज फॉर फन अँड इट शुड बी यूज फॉर फन, बट देन there's another side of it which is that it is a very useful source of information and it should be treated as such. I think what like the reason I have named this like first part, information is power, is because I think जे मी लहानपणी इंटरनेट खूप वापरायचो किंवा मला जी माहिती बाकीच्या सोर्सेस पासून मिळायची त्यांनी माझा आयुष्यात खूप फायदा झाला. Because I was getting information outside of my school and college, what I was basically developing was I was developing an awareness about what is important in the world, what is going to be important in the future. So I knew that like computer science is something that is going to be a lucrative field in the future, and like the future is going to be online and all that. All those ideas were like very familiar to me when others were just like focusing on getting good marks in the 10th and 12th and all that. And in fact, I would like to mention that I personally don't even have like great grades. मला कधी खूप चांगले मार्क पडले वगैरे असं काही नाहीये. आय हॅव ऑलवेज बिन मोर ऑर लेस, म्हणजे मार्कांमध्ये आय वॉज ऑलवेज लाईक वन ऑफ द इंटेलिजंट स्टुडंट्स, बट आय वॉज नेव्हर द मोस्ट इंटेलिजंट स्टुडंट. And I think like the reason for that was because that I wasn't optimizing my education for exams. I wasn't making sure that I'm studying what is going to be asked in the exam. I was just studying to get knowledge, and that really helped me, as I've said before. आणि दुसरी गोष्ट अशी झाली की मी ते मगाशी बोललो की मला लहानपणीपासून आय न्यू अबाउट that the future is going to be online and all these things. तर त्याचा मला असा फायदा झाला की ज्या अपॉर्च्युनिटीज लोकांना दिसत नव्हत्या मी जेव्हा 10वीला किंवा 11वीला होतो, जेव्हा सगळे ऍडमिशन्सच्या मागे होते, तेव्हा मी ज्या अपॉर्च्युनिटीज कडे लक्ष देत होतो त्या अपॉर्च्युनिटीज बाकीच्यांना खास माहीतच नव्हत्या. आणि बिकॉज ऑफ दॅट आय कुड फाइंड अपॉर्च्युनिटीज दॅट सुटेड मी, जे माझ्या पर्सनॅलिटीला सूट होतील अशा अपॉर्च्युनिटीज मिळाल्या मला. आणि सेम थिंग ऍक्च्युली कंटिन्यूड टिल फेसबुक. लाईक फेसबुकमध्ये असं कल्चर आहे की लाईक तुम्हाला खूप इंडिपेंडन्स दिला जातो फेसबुकमध्ये. फेसबुकमध्ये तुम्हाला कोणी येऊन सांगत नाही की तुम्हाला आज हे काम करायचंय किंवा ते काम करायचंय. तुम्हाला तुमच्या टीमचा जो गोल असतो दॅट इज लाईक अ वेग गोल दॅट इज डिफाईन्ड. की मी प्रायव्हसीमध्ये काम करतो, तर माझ्या टीमचा गोल आहे की फेसबुकची प्रायव्हसी इम्प्रूव्ह करायची. आणि डेटा वेअरहाऊस जो असतो फेसबुकचा, जिथे आम्ही अनालिसिससाठी वगैरे डेटा स्टोअर करतो, त्याचा तो जो डेटा आहे त्याला सिक्युअर पद्धतीने स्टोअर करायचं आणि सिक्युअर पद्धतीने ऍक्सेस द्यायचा. दोज आर द एम्स ऑफ आवर टीम. अँड वी हॅव सम ऑब्लिगेशन्स की आम्ही एवढ्या दिवसापर्यंतच युजर्सचा डेटा आमच्या अनालिसिस वेअरहाऊसमध्ये, डेटा वेअरहाऊसमध्ये ठेवू शकतो. आणि ते इन्शुअर करणं हे माझं काम असतं फेसबुकमध्ये. तर हे जेव्हा आम्ही काम करतो तेव्हा आम्हाला असं कोणी येऊन सांगत नाही की हेच तुम्हाला करायचंय, की तुम्हाला ही गोष्ट डेव्हलप करायची. वी कम अप विथ आवर ओन आयडियाज. आम्ही इनफॅक्ट विदिन द कंपनी आम्ही स्टार्टअप सारखं काम करतो की we come up with our own projects, we come up with our own softwares and own services, and we present it to the directors and everyone else, and like if we get approval for it, then we develop those things. So there's this bottom up culture in Facebook, and I think that culture is very much like how I would have wanted to work. आणि माझी पर्सनॅलिटी तशी आहे, मी दुसऱ्यांनी सांगितलंय म्हणून काही करत नाही. जनरली मला स्वतःला वाटतं म्हणून गोष्टी करतो. त्यामुळे माझ्या पर्सनॅलिटीसाठी फेसबुक एकदम परफेक्ट होतं. आणि मला फेसबुकचं हे जे कल्चर आहे ते फेसबुक जॉईन करायच्या अगोदर माहित होतं. त्यामुळे मी खास ह्या कल्चरच्या मागे आणि ह्या म्हणजे अशा वर्किंग लाईफस्टाईलसाठी सिलिकॉन व्हॅलीला टार्गेट करत होतो पहिल्यापासून. सो दॅट नॉलेज I wouldn't have gotten if I wasn't reading outside of my school and college education. And basically because this opportunity that I've gotten at Facebook is so tailor-made for me, I can thrive at this company. If it was like a company where like boss रोज काहीतरी काम देतोय आणि तेवढंच काम करायचंय, तर I wouldn't have been able to thrive as well as I am doing right now. तर I would say की त्यामुळे तुम्ही like keep your ears open, लोकांकडनं शिका, use internet for like this thing, like for learning about new subjects, for learning about new opportunities. पर्सनली मी गुगल तर सगळेच इन्फॉर्मेशनसाठी वापरू शकतात की एक गुगल सर्च केली आणि तुम्हाला जो प्रश्न असेल त्याचं उत्तर मिळून जातं 2-3 रिझल्ट्स मध्ये पहिल्याच. आणि दॅट आय थिंक एव्हरी वन कॅन डू. बट पर्सनली मी सोशल नेटवर्किंग वेबसाईट ज्या असतात त्या मी पर्सनली एज्युकेशनसाठी वापरतो. तर त्या कशा वापरायच्या, तर सोशल नेटवर्किंग वेबसाईट्सवर यू कॅन फाइंड अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल and lot of groups which are studying a certain thing or like focusing on a certain thing. जसं मी आता स्पॅनिश शिकतोय, तर स्पॅनिशसाठी स्पॅनिश लर्नर्सचे ग्रुप असतात फेसबुकवर. तर तिथे जाऊन सोशलाइज करायचं त्या ग्रुप्सवर जाऊन. आणि मग तिथे स्पॅनिश लोकांशी म्हणजे ओळखी झाल्या की यू कॅन जस्ट बिकम फ्रेंड्स विथ देम अँड यू कॅन टॉक विथ देम इन स्पॅनिश अँड दॅट्स हाऊ यू कॅन इझिली लर्न स्पॅनिश. And I have met like people like physicists, politicians, artists. I know a lot of people who have the startups, and I have met them through Facebook. तर अशा गोष्टींसाठी तुम्ही सोशल नेटवर्किंग वेबसाईटचा उपयोग करू शकता. आणि ऑब्व्हियसली लाईक मित्रांशी बोला, रिलेटिव्हशी बोला, आणि त्या गोष्टींसाठी तर आहेतच ह्या वेबसाईट. बट देर इज अ होल अदर एरिया वेर यू कॅन यूज these websites for. And I don't think everyone around is currently using these websites for these purposes. And you can get an advantage if you start looking at every thing that you do as a source of knowledge, as a source of information as well. So yeah, so that is the first learning that I have had in my life so far, which is that information is power. And if you can get information that not many other people have in the world, then you can probably get an edge over the competition. So moving on to the next part, माझं second I would say part of my life was basically around my teen years, which was like from 9th standard to 12th standard. आणि यावेळेत मी IIT प्रिपरेशन करत होतो. आणि आय थिंक दॅट आणि IIT प्रिपरेशन मी खूप जास्त सिरियसली घेतलेलं, आणि त्याचा खूप जास्त मी विचार करायचो, खूप जास्त काय म्हणतात की I used to overthink about these things. I used to overthink IIT preparation. I was very invested in it, and I wasn't looking at it as an opportunity. I was looking at it as a challenge, as something that I had to do no matter what. And I think if you're looking at things in that way, it's a do or die thing. If you don't do this, then you are not going to go anywhere in life. असं जर तुम्ही कशाकडे बघत असला, तर that is going to be very detrimental to you. Personally, like one of my biggest regrets is that I spent so much time studying for IITs, because in the end I didn't even get into IITs. I went to BITS, which is definitely a good college, but like another thing was, after I went to BITS, I realized that I didn't really want to go into IITs. IITs are a very elite institute and they have their advantages, obviously. But the problem with these institutes is they manufacture, and this is not obviously always true, but generally they manufacture like these people who are like either naturally talented, or there are like robots who keep on working 24/7. And I don't think I fell into either category. I had some natural talent, but I wasn't like superior, like gifted or something like that. So I don't think that was the place for me to be. And in fact, going to BITS, I got a lot more exposure to things. And it turned out to be a great experience in my life. I learned a lot of things in BITS. And I would like to talk more about this IIT preparation thing. Like IIT preparation आजकाल म्हणजे ह्या गोष्टी ज्या आहेत की एक गोष्ट म्हणजे तुम्ही इफ यू आर अपिअरिंग फॉर MPSC किंवा IIT साठी अपिअर करताय, तर तुम्ही फक्त त्याचाच अभ्यास करता, दिवस रात्र तेच करता. आणि दॅट आय थिंक इज अ व्हेरी बॅड थिंग, बिकॉज तुम्ही फक्त प्रेस्टिजसाठी किंवा फक्त जास्त पैसे मिळतील किंवा अकम्प्लिशमेंट म्हणून अशा पूर्ण आयुष्य तुमचं एका गोष्टीला डेडिकेट करता आणि ती गोष्ट कित्येकदा लोकांना करायची पण नसते, फक्त सोसायटी म्हणते म्हणून ती गोष्ट लोक करत असतात. आय थिंक दॅट इज अ व्हेरी बॅड थिंग टू डू. You should first try to figure out what you want to do with your life instead of trying to do something that society wants you to do. तुम्हाला इनिशियली सक्सेस मिळेल, पण नंतर तुम्ही बर्नआउट होऊन जाल, कारण की 40 वर्ष एकच गोष्ट करायची असते तुम्हाला. एकदा तुम्ही एक करिअर चूज केलं की, म्हणजे यू कॅन ऑब्व्हियसली शिफ्ट करिअर्स, बट मोस्ट पीपल डोंट शिफ्ट करिअर्स इन देअर लाईफ टाइम. सो तुम्हाला 40 वर्ष जर एकच गोष्ट करायची असेल, तर you might as well choose a thing that you are not you don't hate. You might as well choose a thing that you like doing at least. I know, like, there's a belief that there are like people who are like born to do something, or like people have passion for something and that is what they should do. But that is an impractical belief. You should try to find a vocation which is which is which is something that you like to do and which pays your bills. That's the aim. That should probably be your aim, I would say. And this might seem a bit irrelevant for you because you're already doing a graduate degree right now. So you would think that I have chosen what I'm supposed to do. But even as a graduate, you have a lot of opportunities. Like if I work as a software engineer, for instance, when I work at Facebook, my the style of work and basically the kind of software engineer I am is completely different from companies like Goldman Sachs, or even similar companies like Microsoft. If people work there, the culture, the work culture, the things that they do is entirely different, even though the title is same. So even as like graduates of a computer science degree, you can look for the right companies for yourself and figure out what is it that you really want to do and try to work there. Because then if you find meaning in your work, then you can probably give a lot more to it than if you're doing the work just for money and just for the sake of society. Another thing is, like, this is a small observation that I've seen in our country, that like we are developing a country that's full of like engineers and STEM graduates. STEM is like science, technology, engineering, and maths. And there is definitely value in developing these fields. But as a country, we need a lot more. Like we need doctors, we need people who study literature, we need people who study history and all those things. And I think those things are not valued by our country right now. And that is something that needs to change slowly. One thing that I have learned, which would seem completely antithetical to like what most people believe, and I've learned that this at Facebook, is that certain things that which are completely non-technical are very important for computer science. First thing that falls in that category is art. So like when a lot of people talk about art, they think of art as something like drawing or painting or something like that. But if you really study art, art is not about drawing something properly or painting something in the most perfect way. That is just craftsmanship. Like anyone can practice a lot of drawing and they can draw human figures that look exactly like the human. And anyone can do that. That's not art. That's just craftsmanship. The real meat is in the creativity. So if you look at Picasso, he wasn't drawing human figures which were resembling humans even. He was looking at it in a completely different way. And that is the value of art. That when you study art, you learn to look at things in a different way. And when you look at things in a different way, like looking at things in a different way is very important in even computer science, even in a software even as a software engineer. Because I have seen it time and time again that you have to make decisions about code, about systems which do not have like where you cannot really decide which, like there are two alternatives, let's say, and you can't really decide which alternative would be better based on resources or something like that, and you have to make an educated guess of which alternative might work better. For instance, like I have like if you look at Python, right? Python has a distinctive coding style. Python does not follow like unlike C++ or like the older languages like Java. Python does not have a very strict syntax. It has a lot of leeway when it comes to syntax. But if you look at Python code, it's very easy to understand. It's beautifully it almost seems beautiful, especially if you look at like Python, like if you go on GitHub right now and look at some of the good Python libraries like NumPy and all that, you would like be able to appreciate the code for how beautiful it is. And that thing, like the beauty of code or something like that, that comes in Python, that comes because of something called the Zen of Python. If you search for the Zen of Python right now, you can look up. There's a short poem that like defines how you should write Python, and that poem is one of the first documents that was written, and that poem is still used as a guide while developing Python. I'm not talking about developing with Python. I'm talking about when they develop Python. They use this poem as a reference, and there are things in this poem like simple is better than complex, complex is better than complicated, flat is better than nested, and you can see that these things show up in how Python has been developed. And because of and to develop such strategies to make the right decisions, you need to have an understanding of what is beautiful, what is and I think and you need a way to look at things in a different way from how others are looking at things. And I think that comes from studying art, from appreciating art. Another thing that I have learned is that writing is extremely important. Most of the things that I do at Facebook, like they are not they are about communication. They are not coding. Even though I code a lot, most of the stuff that I do is basically communication. I work in privacy, and my job is to develop systems that will make sure that uh, making privacy or security violations would be as hard as possible in the company. And when your job is doing that, you need to understand how others are coding, how, let's say, Messenger team is coding, or how WhatsApp is coding. If you know what WhatsApp is building, if you know what Messenger is building, only then you can build something to make sure that they are not making mistakes when it comes to privacy and security. So for that reason, you need to do a lot of communication, and most of the communication is in written word. And another thing about this communication is Facebook has people from all over the world. There are engineers who who are Chinese. There are engineers who are Russians. There are engineers who are Israeli, Americans, everywhere. And when that happens, communication needs to be very succinct, and it needs to be very simple. You can't use hard English words to describe what you're writing. You need to use the exact right words. And I think that is a art that you develop when you write a lot. You should know what are the simplest words you can use for a certain purpose without without making without losing the meaning of the thing. Like let's say there is let's say there's something like you want to describe a book or something like that, and when you're describing the book, you can obviously say that the language is ornate or something like that, but instead of using ornate, you can just use a word like beautiful, and it wouldn't lose a lot of meaning, but a lot more people would understand what you're saying. If you say the language in the book is beautiful, a lot more people understand what you're saying. So these are small things that you need to learn about writing, which are very important in a corporate environment where just coding is not going to do the job. Another thing is communication. Communication is something that like seems very important. Like by communication I mean verbal communication. So verbal communication is something that seems very natural to us. We talk all our lives with everyone, with our parents, with our friends, with our teachers, everyone. And yet I have seen in a lot of meetings, even at Facebook, even outside in different business contexts, I've seen that two people are talking about, are meeting about a subject, and they talk about completely different things. They are not even having a conversation. त्यांच्यात संवादच होत नसतो. त्यांनी वेगवेगळे मुद्दे फक्त एकमेकांना सांगत असतात. पण ऍक्च्युली कॉन्व्हर्सेशन हे होतच नसतं. आणि त्यामुळे यू नेव्हर कम टू काय म्हणतात, एक कन्क्लुजन निघत नाही खूप मीटिंग्समध्ये. तर ज्या मी ऑब्झर्व केलंय की ज्या मीटिंग्सना म्हणजे एक प्रॉब्लेम सॉल्व्ह करायचा असला आणि इफ देर आर गुड कम्युनिकेटर्स, they can probably solve that problem in like 2 meetings. And if there are bad communicators who are solving that problem, it takes 15 meetings. These people might be extremely good engineers, but because they are bad communicators, you can't solve the problem fast enough, and that can be detrimental to companies at scale. So that is one of the most important things that I've learned, that like communication, verbal communication is extremely important, and it's not as easy as it seems. um, I would like to suggest like this. So what I wanted to make a point about in this part was that what is important is not just technical education. You need to invest in holistic development. You need to understand why things are done the way they are done. And that generally doesn't come from just technical education. You need to understand people, because you might become software engineering managers in the future. And when you are a software engineering manager, you don't really deal a lot in code, you deal in people. And that is not your field of expertise, but that is what you have to do now. So when you're doing those things, you need to, it would be really good if you focus from now on understanding people, on understanding communication, on understanding these small things. And I would like to suggest a book here. Like there's a very good book called Range by David Epstein. I would like, if any one of you gets a chance, I would definitely suggest to read it. The book is called Range by David Epstein. So basically what the book says is that in most fields, what matters is that you have a general understanding and not a special understanding. So you can't generally, generalists are more important when it comes to innovation, when it comes to actually making the big leaps, and not specialists. So people always try to say that you should specialize in one thing, but while you're specializing in one thing, if you're completely unaware of other things, you wouldn't be able to make the big discoveries, or big you wouldn't get the big ideas that would actually change your industry or whatever. So if you're dreaming really big, start thinking in more general terms instead of like in terms of your own major or in your own field. So that was the second part, which is like educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And by educating the heart here, I mean things like writing is important, communication is important, art is important. So let's go to the next part, which is geniuses are made, not born. So this is something that I learned really late in life. Um, I think our society in general values born smartness, born intelligence, and like we say that someone is a born poet or something like that. And we value natural talent a lot. But in reality, natural talent, even if you're naturally very talented, natural talent is can only take you so far. Like you wouldn't be a a world changing personality by just your natural talent. You also need other things like work ethic and all that. So what I learned in bits was like when I went to bits, I went with an attitude that like I was only successful in my school and in my junior college because I was like a big fish in a small pond. As I said earlier, right? Like I grew up in a small town which was on the outskirts of Bombay. So in that small town, like I had a lot of resources that most children didn't have. Both my parents were engineers. They were both very educated, and they used to help me with my studies. And all my other friends didn't have those advantages. And because of that, like it was very easy for me to be more successful. And so I went to bids with that attitude that like it's going to be very hard for me in bids because I'm a big fish in a small pond, and all these kids are coming from like really great schools like DPS and um, I don't Loyola and all those like really good names. So I didn't really I went with a self-limiting belief there, and I also thought that like it's all about natural talent, and so I completely depended on just my natural intellect and bits to study, to work, etc. And that was the one of the bigger mistakes that I've done in life. um, I What I should have had is something called a growth mindset. So what the growth mindset says is that you are not like where you are right now. It doesn't matter. What really matters is where you're going, and it doesn't matter if you're not born a super genius or something like that. What really matters is continuously working hard and going towards a decided goal. Here like I would like to share like I think you all know someone like Sachin Tendulkar. So Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambi, if you know, they were like childhood friends. And you can search right now, like there are a lot of articles on the internet about how Vinod Kambi was actually naturally more talented than Sachin Tendulkar. But in the end, we all know like Sachin as one of the best batsmen there is. And the reason for that is if you look at interviews that people have given about Sachin, they talk a lot about his work ethic. Vinod Kamri lacked the work ethic, and Tendulkar had a very strong work ethic. He used to be at practice every day at the same time, and he used to keep working. And that is what actually gave him the edge and not his natural talent. So I think that is very important. If you are naturally talented, just forget about it and just focus on working hard, because what is going to matter in the end is working hard. It's not about your natural talent. I have seen this at Facebook too. Actually, like this has become like extremely clear to me after coming to Facebook, because I have repeatedly seen that people who come from like really prestigious colleges like MIT, which is like Institute of Technology, or Harvard, they are not necessarily like the directors, or they are not necessarily the stars at Facebook. Um, my teammate comes from a very small university called University of Miami in US, and he is one of the fastest rising people at Facebook right now. And he's easily defeating he's easily growing faster than people from like some of the best universities in the world. So you can see that like it didn't matter that where he was when he was 20 or where he was when he was in college. What really matters is he has been working hard and consistently, and that is what is going to take him far. uh, That is why, like, the moral of the third section is geniuses are made, not born. Yes, don't expect like don't give up because just because you weren't born a genius. The next section I would like to talk about. So in the next section, I would like to talk about abundance. After bits, the next step was I came to University of Florida in my life, and I was doing my masters in University of Florida. And while doing my masters in University of Florida, I realized that working in like studying in University of Florida, which is in US, was a completely different experience from studying in India. In India, it was almost as if like we were actually like I went to BITS, which is like the number one private engineering college in India, and all of the people were extremely smart. At the same time, University of Florida is ranked like the 50th university in US. So it's not like everyone is super talented or something like that. And yet, it seemed like everyone was respected equally in University of Florida compared to BITS. In BITS, only a few of the students used to get A grades, and I saw in University of Florida, like nearly everyone is getting A grades if they work hard enough. And I was completely baffled. Like, what was the difference? What was different here? So what I observed was in India, the teachers in BITS, they were trying to choose the best of the best. They were not trying to raise the level of their students. They weren't trying to actually educate students. They were just trying to choose who is already good enough. And in US, what was happening was people were trying, the teachers were trying to get most students to to the next level. They weren't trying to just to see who is the top five people in this class. They were just trying to raise the level of the entire class. And I think that is a very important difference. In India, we have limited opportunities, and because of that, I think there's this mindset that like only a few people are going to get great chances in life, and so we try to choose those few people. And I think that's the wrong mindset. Like if you go with that mindset, you would never increase the number of opportunities. What you should be trying for is to raise the field, raise the entire field, basically raise the level of each and every student. And if you can do that uh, as a teacher, or as an education system as a whole, that really helps. And I think what we need to do going forward in India is like move our education system towards that which is to try to raise everyone's level instead of trying to choose the few who are already talented. And I think there are like as I said, like there are practical differences because of which this happens. US has a lot of resources, India doesn't have a lot of resources. Another thing is that there's a difference in belief about people in US versus India. So what people in US believe is that human beings have like intrinsic value. So it's not because like something you don't get your value from something you do or something you have achieved or who you were born. You just get value just by existing. That is the belief in US. And the way this belief shows up is that there is a lack of hierarchy. So this is a really great thing. Like I have seen this at Facebook personally, and I have witnessed this in the society in general, but in Facebook especially. Basically, what happens is like first of all, like everyone is on first name basis, and I have never called anyone sir or anything like that. Even like Mark Zuckerberg, everyone refers to him as Mark. Uh, if you talk about anyone, like I have talked about to my director, and I would just call him by his name and not add any title or anything like that to his name. And I think that is extremely important in a society, that like people don't get value because of because of where they have gone or something like that. Like this ego boost is completely unnecessary. So what you should basically be trying to do is, even if you're a director, you should be as down to earth as every other person in Facebook. And that is actually shown in Facebook. So Facebook has this interesting thing where software engineers don't have any levels. We don't have senior software engineers, we don't have principal software engineers or staff software engineers. If you go on most companies right now, you can most companies websites right now and look at their career pages, they would have something like a staff software engineer, which is someone with 6 to 8 years of experience or something like that. But Facebook is like completely flat. There is no hierarchy within the engineers. That is not to say that engineers don't have levels, but that those levels are hidden from everyone except from the engineer and his manager. So I get a pay scale based on my level, which would be known only by me and my manager, and everyone else would just know me as a software engineer. And because of that, an amazing thing happens is that even if you're a junior, even if you joined the company yesterday, you can propose a company changing idea, you can propose a industry changing idea, and no one would say, oh, you are just new and that's why like we are not going to value what you're saying. Everyone still listens to you because all they know about you is you are a software engineer. They don't know how much experience you have had or what your level is. And I think that is something that we need to inculcate in our society, that like some of the greatest ideas come from the most junior people, and their ideas and their contributions should also be respected. Another actually story that I would like to share about Facebook is like one of the days, like I was having lunch at work with my team, and I dropped my spoon. And when I dropped my spoon, in general, obviously, like it's my own job to go and get a spoon, but Facebook is so like egalitarian that my director, who's literally like 4 levels above me, went and got a spoon for me without me even asking for it or anything like that. And like I think that is the kind of culture that we need to develop in our society. Um, at the same time, when I was in BITS, our dean of academics was going to teach us uh, a lecture in control systems. And I remember a professor who had a PhD, who was like 40 years old. The dean expected the professor to put the mic on his shirt. Like that is the level of uh, classism that exists in our society, and because of that, like we can't grow fast enough as a society, I believe. Like the difference at Facebook is like ideas, good ideas are respected and not the level from which they come from, and that is the important lesson to learn here, I believe. And all these things would come if we develop something called an mindset. So what is abundance mindset? Uh, so basically, I think मराठी म्हणजे कल्चरमध्ये एक म्हणजे कल्चर नाही म्हणता येणार, पण लास्ट काही इयर्स मध्ये एक म्हण खूप फेमस झाली आहे की एक मराठी माणूस वर चढायला लागला की दुसरा त्याचा पाय ओढतो. आणि हे जे आपल्याकडे कल्चर आहे ते का तयार होतं, कारण की लोकांना अपॉर्च्युनिटीज ज्या आहेत त्या कमी वाटत असतात, की ह्याला जर ही अपॉर्च्युनिटी मिळाली तर मला काही मिळणार नाही किंवा मी मोठा होऊ शकणार नाही. ही जी बिलीफ आहे ना, ही आपल्याकडे ही आपल्या कल्चर मधली बिलीफ जायला पाहिजे. I have observed at Facebook that like there is never a condition where like people say, I want to do that project because if I don't do that project, I uh, I wouldn't be able to grow. हा कन्सेप्टच नाहीये फेसबुकमध्ये. बेसिकली पीपल आर व्हेरी विलिंग. इफ आय रिअली वॉन्ट टू डू अ प्रोजेक्ट, आय कॅन डू दॅट प्रोजेक्ट and the original person who was doing that project might be like might take on a different project that's equally good, or that would give him growth opportunities. So basically these things, that like lack of politics when it comes to growth, these things are very important, because when both of us are working on projects which are like equally sized and which both are giving growth to us as professionals, what happens on the company level is that there are two projects which are also helping the company grow. And instead of that, if there was only one project and like and one like one person was working on that project and the other person had to work for that person, just because my level is lower or something like that, then we would have only one company changing project instead of two company changing projects. So I think that is one of the things that we have to learn, that like these things are not a zero sum game. If two people are equally talented, if two people can create something big, let both of them succeed. And I think how that can be learned is by practicing something called gratefulness, which is where you have to be happy with where you are, and all the growth opportunities that come your way, they can only add to your happiness that way. And if you don't depend on something to make you happy, there's something that you don't already have, then you would be more than willing to let someone else have it. And that way, like, you wouldn't be fighting for opportunities in your life. So this is where that quote comes in, which I have on the slide: when you're grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. So I hope all of us practice more gratefulness in our life. Coming to the last part of my talk, now I would talk about the actual part after my master's, when I actually joined Facebook. So before I joined Facebook, right, I was trying to find a job in the last semester of my master's, and this was a very harsh situation. Like, I had a loan back home. I'm pretty sure my parents would have been able to pay off my loan, but it was like a, a matter of pride for me that I had to get a job myself in US and help pay back the education loan. And and at the same time, like in the last semester, I had some like misfortune. Like, I had a really bad breakup before the semester, and I was like utterly depressed. I wasn't getting any job interviews. I literally got only 3 interviews when my friends were getting like 20 to 30 interviews. And because of that, I was like extremely low. And at that point, I think what really helped me was like the belief that I already had, that information is power. Because because I believe that like information is power, I used the internet to help me when I was extremely depressed. And when I was depressed, I did not because I just searched information about my problems and searched and tried to understand my problems. I learned that there is like help that I can get for my mental health when I am not doing well. I can just go to a mental health professional, and there's nothing bad about it. It is as simple as when I get some physical hurt, I go to a doctor. It's as simple as that. And I took help for my mental health to feel not that depressed. And because of that, I think I could get end up getting a job at Facebook. Um, Another thing is like this ties into actually each of the areas that I have talked about till now. Um, Earlier I said that like developing a holistic approach to growth is very important, and in that thing I mentioned something about using social networking to meet people who do certain things and learn from them. So I met software engineering professionals through websites like Facebook. And how I used that was basically I got a job interview through a friend who I had made who I had made just on Facebook, and that job interview was the Facebook job interview, and through that I basically got this job. Another thing was that I also continued to help my friends with their own job prep even when I didn't have a job. And I think that's where the abundance mindset comes in. Like if I had said that, oh, I'm not getting interviews, why would I help my friends with interviews? If I had gone with that attitude, I wouldn't have really helped my friends with their interviews. And basically what happened was, because I was helping so many of my friends with their interviews, I ended up getting prepared for interviews without even needing to sit and prepare myself. Like when I was asking questions to my friends and helping them understand certain topics, in that I learned how to solve those questions. And when my own Facebook interview came, I didn't have to study more than a week. I don't think I even studied for a week for the interview, and I could just crack it because I was already studied. I had already studied well enough when I was helping out my friends, and that was only possible because I had this abundance mindset where I didn't think that just because my friends are getting opportunities and I'm not getting opportunities at that point, I wasn't thinking that I would never get opportunities. I was just waiting for my opportunity. And I think that is something that we should learn, that even if you are not the one who's getting opportunities right now, it does not mean that your future is all dead or something like that. And I would like to conclude this by by talking about something that I have learned in my struggle with mental health. And I've seen that when things get really hard, right, you start developing these self-limiting beliefs where you make mistakes and you start criticizing yourself for those mistakes, and that I think spirals down and gets people depressed. And and the best way to avoid that is to learn to be kind to yourself. When you make mistakes, don't criticize yourself for those mistakes. See what you can learn from the mistakes that you're making, and just and try to make sure that you don't do the same mistake again. And I'm pretty sure, like, when we have habits that have been developed throughout our lives, we continue making mistakes. We make like 20 mistakes, but when we are making those 20 mistakes, and every time we are trying to not make that mistake, at least the 21st time you would actually not make the mistake, and that is how you would learn. And I think that is the right way to learn, instead of like going self-critical. So try to be kind to yourself when you're making mistakes, when you're not getting things right. Be kind to yourself. If you're not performing well in exams, just keep working and be kind to yourself. Don't say that I'm an idiot and that's why I can't score well or something like that. And also another thing is, you should always be persistent. Like success, if your aims and goals are high, then success isn't going to come naturally to you. It's going to take time. There are going to be failures along the way, and because of that, it's very important to be persistent and focus on doing the thing again and again and again despite failures. Lastly, I would like to say that success isn't everything, and you have to learn to enjoy the journey. Because if your aims are really high, if you want to solve something like, let's say, global warming or something like that, chances are that you are not going to be successful. And if you are just waiting for success, if you think like success is the only place where I can get happiness, if you're just desiring success, you will never get happiness. And I think it's important to be happy in life, and that's why I wrote the last part, which is desire is the root of all suffering. So try not to focus too much on where you want to go, and just try to enjoy the journey as far as possible. Yeah, so that is, I think, all that I wanted to share with you today. uh, Let me know if you have any questions. I'm I would be very happy to answer the specific questions about work at Facebook or anything like that.
So students, discussion is now open. If you have any questions, then please you can ask.
So if you feel shy asking questions here, you can find me on LinkedIn and just text me your questions. I can answer your questions outside of here. It may take a little while, but that would work too.
Sir,
Yeah,
Please
go ahead.
Abhishek.
how did you get idea to do the MS in foreign? Like,
So actually, I forgot to mention this, but I was doing my bachelor's in electrical and electronics, and I was never very interested in electronics. I was doing it because that is what I could get at BITS. And when I was struggling throughout BITS, I did not get good grades or anything like that. So in my second year onwards, I started thinking about what I really wanted to do after my graduation. I did not want to end up in in a company, electronic engineering company. So I wanted to do software engineering. Like, since computer science had been my passion, as I said, like since my childhood, I used to think that internet is the future, computer science is the future. So I started learning computer science on my own, despite of whatever subjects I was doing in college. And I started researching how I can shift my stream from electronics to computer science. And the easiest way seemed, after researching online, after talking to seniors, the easiest way seemed like going to US and doing a master's. So that is where I decided that I would do masters in computer science.
despite being at Facebook, sir, like, how is your stay and all? Like, not about stay, but proper job profile. You have told us that Facebook provides us everything and all. So why haven't you shifted to any other company? Like, there are Microsoft and all, like IBM, Apple and all, like.
So, like I mentioned earlier, right in the talk, I realized that like what I wanted was a certain work culture. And as I mentioned, like the work culture at Facebook is egalitarian. There is no hierarchy. There is uh, everyone is more or less equal. You can contribute ideas as a junior. You can grow faster because you can contribute ideas as a junior. These are the things that are like very characteristic of Silicon Valley, and especially two companies, which is Facebook and Google. So, like, that is actually the culture. The work culture is the main reason I have not thought about shifting. Because I have studied like what work culture Microsoft has, and Microsoft has a very traditional work culture where like it's almost like a Indian government job. Like Microsoft is such a big and bloated company at this point that working there is like working at a government job. I have heard from my friends that like who work there, that there are teams which don't where you don't really have to have any challenging work, and you just go in every day and put in some amount of work, but you don't like but you don't face any challenges. So I don't want that kind of work environment. I want something like Facebook where like everyone is motivated and everyone is like continuously trying to build something that no one has built before. Yeah, so that is one of the reasons I have never thought of moving.
So, sir, like, you are right now in America. So why have you not thought of shifting to India or like to our hometown?
Uh, So one of the things is like India does not have, like Facebook does not have a Indian office. And personally, my belief is that like a company like Facebook, it influences um, our country without even having an office there. So if I want to do something that like helps the country or something like that, I realize that like this is a good enough opportunity. Like even working here, especially at a company like Facebook, I can actually help the country, or like um, actually help the world actually. So like that is the reason that I have not thought of moving. Like if it was Microsoft or something else, I would have probably looked into moving to India.
Sir, you made my many doubts clear. Like even I was thinking that I would like to shift towards Microsoft, like working into Microsoft and all. I have got the clear idea and perception like what Microsoft has its own culture and all, like in kind of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. So there is this app called Blind, which you guys can look at. Like Blind is an app where like engineers from different companies anonymously talk about their companies. So you can try to understand what the work cultures in different companies are by using that app. Try to understand what kind of work is going on in different companies if you like use that app. So I would definitely suggest trying using that app. It's called Blind.
Ruturaj, there are some
Yeah.
questions in chat box. There is one question. What would you suggest to do after completing our graduation? There is a question from Muskan Sheikh.
So, sorry. So, I think this is a question like that is different. Like the answer to this question is different for everyone. But in general, I would suggest that you should try to figure out what you really want to do, which is basically do you what kind of job you want to end up in. If you want to end up becoming a manager or something like that, then doing an MBA is a good idea. But if you actually want to just continue in computer science, try to see if you're getting the right job, the right fit as a graduate, as a bachelor. And if you're not getting the right fit with your current qualifications, study more, I would say, and then try to find the right job for you. I think that about covers it. Maybe like there are great opportunities in like academia too. So maybe like that is something you would want to pursue. Like maybe you want to teach computer science. So try to understand what you really want to do and try to do that, I would say.
Is there another question from students? So if you all are satisfied, then now we can close this session. So I am here to propose vote of thanks. Mr. Ruturaj Zadbuke, a guy working in Facebook at about 25 years of his age and talking like a great philosopher. Ruturaj, you joined us, guided our students, shared inside out of being successful. Rather, I would say being happy. You shared things about work culture of Facebook, important skills like writing, communication, then importance of communication and work ethics, the very important thing you shared with us. Your journey is really remarkable and will be example of our students and definitely will inspire our students throughout their lives. You talked on education systems, beliefness, valueness, then holistic approach, your struggle and your fight. So our students really really will get good things from your speech. And one more thing you shared, that is helping hands are always always better than uh, praying lips. So thank you once again from our department, on behalf of our department, on behalf of our college. So thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. And thanks for all of you to listening to me talk. I hope this really helps you.
Next session will start on 11:30. The meet link we will send you. And for next session, we are going to have Miss Kiran Kulkarni from Australia. So be there for next meet. So next meet will be on 11:30. So thank you once again. बरोबर